The fact that innocent civilians are trapped under the weight of a war they cannot escape and which is not their fault is not tenable. We need to step back and accept it. It's not acceptable that they're caught up in a war not of their making, and they're deprived of an opportunity to live and have the experiences that we have had and the experiences of building a better world. And as a society, we simply cannot accept, I believe, the brutal nature of war is some fait accompli. We can't willfully turn our faces away from that suffering because it's hard to watch, because it makes uncomfortable viewing. We can't turn our faces away from the suffering of innocents in particular. And we cannot and must not lose sight of the fact that there are laws that govern the conduct of hostilities. There's no blank check. It's not a case that one can do whatever one wants to pursue a particular objective. The laws that we have, the Rome Statute that I operate under, requires innocent lives are particularly protected. And what is most important is that the application of the law is not theoretical. People have heard promises for a long time. There have been words to write the books of the world. The protections afforded by the law, and it's on all of us, not just on me or on the court, it's on all of us to live this reality, in my view. The protections afforded by the law apply equally regardless of one's race and one's religion, one's nationality, one's gender. There are no children of a lesser God. There are no children of a lesser God. In this regard, I have to say that Israel has clear obligations in relation to its war with Hamas. Not just moral obligations, but legal obligations to comply with the laws of armed conflict. It's there in the Rome Statute, it's there in black and white. It's there in the Geneva Conventions, it's there in black and white. Israel has a professional and well-trained military. They have, I know, military advocate generals and a system that is intended to ensure their compliance with international humanitarian law. They have lawyers advising on targeting decisions. And they will be under no misapprehension as to their obligations, or that they must be able to account for their actions. They will need to demonstrate that any attack that impacts innocent civilians or protected objects must be conducted in accordance with the laws and customs of war, in accordance with the laws of armed conflict. They need to demonstrate proper application of the principle of proportionality, of protection, and of the principle of distinction. And I want to be quite clear so there's no misunderstanding. In relation to every dwelling house, in relation to any school, any hospital, any church, any mosque, those places are protected unless the protective status has been lost. And I want to be equally clear that the burden of proving that the protective status is lost rests with those who aim the gun, the missile, or the rocket in question. My office certainly will scrutinize all information we receive in this regard to show the law is not some kind of optional extra that one can take and leave. It is there to bind us together and to keep us away from the gates of hell and further misery. And this principle equally applies to Hamas in relation to firing indiscriminate rockets into Israel, either targeting civilians or knowing they don't have the sophistication to avoid civilian casualties. As I stated just a few days after the events of the 7th of October, My office has an ongoing investigation with jurisdiction over Palestine that goes back to 2014, and any crimes committed on the territory of Palestine, and any crimes committed, whether it's by Israel on Palestine or whether it's acts committed on the territory of Palestine or from Palestine into Israel. And this includes current events in Gaza and also current events in the West Bank. And I'm really concerned also at the spike, the increase of the number of reported incidents of attacks by settlers against Palestinian civilians in the West Bank. My message here with all of you is with respect a consistent one. It's the same message I said when I was in Ukraine. It's the same message I said when I'm in other parts of the world. It flows from the common yardstick of legality that we have to enforce, and it flows from the principle that justice is every child's birthright, every civilian's entitlement. And it is that any person with their trigger on a gun or on a missile that believes they have power has certain responsibilities, and we will look closely to see whether those responsibilities are being adhered to or not.